Here's a quick video about some of my favorite tips and tricks and drill bit selection for use on a drill press for holster making. I keep a little block with all my most commonly used bits right at the machine so I can clearly see them and pick the one I want quickly. For certain jobs that we use over and over again, I use heat shrink to mark individual bits so I don't have to pick them up and read their fractional size. There are a lot of different kinds of drill bits available, and there's a few particular types that I want to point out. I use Forstner bits a lot for making jigs and other things because they're easy to use, they clear chips well, and they have a nice large centering point, especially if I'm freehanding something or I'm going on pencil marks. These are great. I also use a lot of brad point, especially when I'm drilling through kydex. I don't generally use Forstner bits for drilling in kydex unless it's flat stock. We use brad points a lot because they break through on the bottom and give a nice clean hole with not a lot of burr at the back side, and they also have a locating point. But they're not good if you are trying to drill a part that has a drill pin indicator that has a recessed dimple, because the spurs will start to hit the kydex before your centering point actually does its centering job. So I use these when I'm freehand drilling formed kydex. There are also some specialty long taper points that are used for plastic. You can get these from places like Knife Kits and Index Fastener. These are really nice, but they don't always center great in a little dimple in the plastic because they have such an aggressive point. So for these kinds of parts where I've got drill pin indicators in the mold to give me that depression, I really prefer standard 118-degree split point conventional drill bits. Lastly, there's one category of drill bit that I hate and never use, which are called pilot points. A pilot point is like this one. It's not really a brad point, and it's not a standard split point. It's in between and does neither one well, and I find they jump around, they don't center, and they tear through and leave me ugly, ugly holes. DeWalt makes a lot of drill bits like this. I absolutely hate DeWalt drill bits, and I never use them. So that's my go-to for drill selection for stuff that's got pin marks in it. I use standard drills. We use heat shrink to mark them. For jigs and fixtures and other things, I often use Forstner bits. For freehand drilling in shaped kydex, I use taper point plastic or brad point bits. Get good quality brad point bits. Junky ones are junky. When it comes to accurately locating holes on kydex, there's a few common options. The old pencil, that can give you a nice mark, but it can be sometimes hard to see on different colors of kydex, and it also doesn't provide any physical location for your drill bit. Crayons, paint pencils, silver Sharpies can give you nice clear marks, but they also don't provide any actual physical centering information for your drill bit to follow. An auto center punch is a really useful tool, especially when you're doing layout work. If you have marking templates or measurements and you mark an intersection point before you drill it, you can give yourself a nice, clean, clearly defined dimple that your drill bit will find and center on to help you locate that hole accurately. If you're drilling a formed part, it usually won't lay flat on a table, and it's hard to put pressure on it and drill through it without it flexing, bending, twisting, or springing and climbing up the drill bit. This little jig, which is just a block with a dowel with a hole in the center of it so my drill bit can pass into it, is really great for dealing with formed parts because it allows me to support the part right at the point where I'm drilling, even if I'm right near an edge or a contour or a corner or some place where if I were laying on a flat surface, the spot that I'm drilling would not be able to be supported. So I can get in close to other shapes. I support just where I need. I've got clearance underneath for a chip to break through, and I've got room for my hand to be here and really hold the part well. I'm not stuck just pressing it down on the table trying to keep it from flexing. I can support it, and if I need to, I can even angle it and cheat it to make sure the hole comes out where I want. Another kind of jig we commonly use is an edge or a corner reference jig. These can be fixed, like this one is, or they can be adjustable with multiple sliding parts. You can use individual blocks to reference one edge and a separate block to reference another edge, or you can cut a corner into a block. This is a jig for drilling holes in paddles. You put the part in one way, and then you flip it, and you're referencing off that top outside corner, and you get consistent placement. And a jig like this can be used to drill a wide variety of hole spacings in different size objects. So this is super useful, easy, quick, and cheap to make, and allows you to not have to do layout. Laying out points like this with pencil and then trying to accurately drill them is a recipe for frustration. it's slow, and it's going to deliver mediocre results. So anytime you can, construct a quick jig that takes the guesswork and the layout work out so that you don't have to mark things, you don't have to measure things. You just line it up, slide it in, drill it, flip it, drill it. Those kinds of simple jigs are worth their weight in gold for a holster maker.